There's a piece of stone in southern Egypt that nobody can fully explain. Not tour guides, not geologists, not the engineers who have spent careers trying to reconstruct how it was made. It has been lying in the same spot for roughly 3,500 years, half attached to the ground it was cut from, cracked, abandoned, and covered in marks that should not exist. If it had been finished and raised like its siblings, it would have stood taller than almost any obelisk ever built by human hands in the ancient world. It never stood at all. And that failure, that one unfinished mistake, turned out to be the most valuable accident in the history of Egyptology, because it is the only place on Earth where you can still see, frozen in stone, exactly how the ancient world tried and failed to conquer granite. Here is the question nobody wants to answer directly. If Bronze Age Egyptians only had copper tools, sand, and stone hammers, softer than the granite itself, how did they carve trenches around a stone slab weighing over 1,000 tons with the precision that modern quarrying crews still study today? Copper is soft, granite is one of the hardest natural stones on the planet. On paper, the tools should not have worked, and yet the trench is there. The obelisk is there. Read that again, because this is the detail almost every documentary skips past too quickly to actually sit with it. For over a century, the official explanation has been simple, almost too simple. Workers pounded the granite with handheld balls of dolerite, a stone slightly harder than granite, over and over, thousands of repetitive strikes, grinding the rock down bit by bit until a trench emerged. It is the textbook answer. It is in the museum placards. It is what most tour guides in Aswan will tell you standing right next to the obelisk. But here is where it gets uncomfortable for that explanation. When you actually walk into that quarry and look at the undercuts, the smooth curved scoops sliding beneath the stone at angles a swinging hammer could never reach, you start to understand why so many trained engineers have quietly admitted the pounding theory has never fully closed the case. Because pounding explains flat surfaces reasonably well. It does not comfortably explain the undercuts. Picture trying to swing a stone ball by hand into a gap barely wide enough for your shoulders, angled underneath a slab of rock heavier than a modern office building, hard enough and precise enough to leave a smooth curved scoop rather than a jagged, uneven mess. Some researchers have pointed out there's barely enough physical space in parts of the trench for a human body to generate the kind of controlled striking force needed to produce those clean curves. This is where everything about the tidy textbook story starts to wobble. So what actually happened? Let's slow down, because the honest answer is less satisfying than any clickbait title promises, and far more interesting than most people expect. The scoop marks at Aswan are real. They are not folklore, not a fringe internet theory, not a conspiracy dreamed up by people who watch too many late-night documentaries. They are photographed, measured, studied, and debated inside actual academic circles. Egyptologist Reginald Engelbach documented the site back in the 1920s in a foundational study that essentially built the entire modern framework for understanding how obelisks were carved. His conclusion was the pounding method. For decades, that conclusion held. But archaeology does not freeze in the 1920s, and neither does the argument. What most people are not seeing in the 5-minute video version of this story is that the debate over the scoop marks has never actually gone away. It has just been quietly ongoing among specialists, while the wider public assumed the mystery was closed 100 years ago. Some researchers argue the scoops are consistent with repeated, controlled pounding along a guided ochre line, evidence of which is still visible on the stone in places, red ochre pigment marking exactly where ancient workers intended to cut. Others argue the smoothness and undercutting profile fits better with a combination of pounding to remove bulk material, followed by a secondary abrasive process, dragging wet sand or crushed quartz through the channel using rope or wood, slowly polishing the undercut into that curved shape over months, not days. Think about what that timeline actually means. Not hours, not days. Months, possibly years, of repetitive, exhausting, coordinated labor by a workforce that had to be fed, organized, supplied with replacement tools, and kept motivated through Aswan's brutal heat, all to shape a single monument that, in the end, cracked and was abandoned before it was even finished. This is not a story about a clever shortcut. This is a story about staggering human patience directed at a problem modern industrial tools would solve in an afternoon. But here is where it gets worse for anyone hoping for a clean, simple answer. The obelisk is not the only strange thing in that quarry. Scattered across the bedrock nearby are deep, narrow, cylindrical holes, bored straight down into solid granite with walls unnervingly smooth for something supposedly carved with hand tools. Some researchers have suggested these were exploratory holes, drilled to test the internal quality of the stone before committing months of labor to carving a monument that might turn out to be riddled with hidden cracks, exactly the fate that doomed the great obelisk itself. Others look at the same holes and ask an uncomfortable question. How, precisely, do you bore a smooth, narrow, deep cylindrical hole into granite using only copper and stone tools and get walls that consistent? This is not chaos. This is a genuine, unresolved engineering puzzle sitting in plain sight in a tourist site visited by hundreds of thousands of people a year, most of whom walk past it taking photos without realizing they are standing inside one of the oldest open questions in archaeology. And now, decades after Engelbach first put his measurements on paper, a new tool has entered the picture, one nobody in the 1920s could have imagined: artificial intelligence. Let's be precise about what this actually means, because the hype around this topic online has run wildly ahead of the science, and it deserves to be pulled back down to earth before it collapses under its own exaggeration. There is no verified, peer-reviewed study in which an artificial intelligence system definitively cracked the 4,000-year-old mystery of Egyptian granite work in a single dramatic reveal. That version of the story, the one built for a thumbnail and a shocked face, does not exist in the academic record. What does exist, and what is genuinely worth paying attention to, is something quieter and, in its own way, more important. Archaeologists and engineers have started using machine learning tools to do something human researchers have struggled to do consistently for a century: analyze thousands of individual tool marks across a stone surface, measure their depth, spacing, curvature, and striking angle, with a level of statistical precision no human eye scanning a rock face could ever match. This is the real story most viral videos gloss over. It is not an AI oracle whispering ancient secrets. It is pattern recognition software, trained on high-resolution 3D scans, doing what computers are actually good at, finding consistency and inconsistency across enormous data sets faster and more objectively than a person squinting at granite in the Aswan sun. According to researchers working in this emerging space, this kind of analysis can help settle arguments that have run in circles for generations, not by inventing a new answer out of nowhere, but by testing the old competing theories against physical evidence at a scale nobody could process by hand. Feed a model thousands of measurements from known pounding marks made with reconstructed dolerite tools and controlled experiments. Compare that data set against thousands of measurements taken from the actual obelisk trench. Where do they match? Where do they diverge? That is the real frontier, and it is far less cinematic than a headline claiming the mystery is solved, but it is also far more scientifically honest and honestly more genuinely fascinating once you understand what it actually represents. Think about what that shift means for archaeology as a discipline. For 100 years, debates like the scoop mark controversy have been fought largely through argument, expertise, and educated interpretation of the same physical evidence everyone already had access to. Now there is a new kind of witness in the room, one that does not get tired, does not have a favorite theory it wants to defend, and can hold thousands of data points in its attention simultaneously. That does not mean the machine is always right. It means the machine can finally give human researchers evidence dense enough to stop guessing and start measuring. And this is where the story escalates into something bigger than one obelisk in one quarry. The granite puzzle at Aswan is not an isolated curiosity. It sits inside a much larger, much older argument about ancient technological capability that has been simmering in Egyptology for decades, occasionally boiling over into full academic disputes. Granite sarcophagi in the Serapeum at Saqqara, hollowed out of single blocks of stone weighing dozens of tons, with interior surfaces polished to a flatness that some engineers have compared favorably to modern machine tolerances, sit at the center of that same argument. Drill cores, extracted from ancient granite artifacts, show spiral cutting patterns that some researchers argue imply extraordinary control over drilling speed and pressure for a civilization working without powered tools. Mainstream Egyptology generally maintains that longer time. Larger coordinated labor forces, harder abrasives like quartz sand, and simple but cleverly applied mechanical leverage account for these results. Fringe researchers argue the precision is simply too consistent, too clean, too repeatable to be explained by patient hand labor alone, and point toward lost or forgotten technology as an alternative explanation. Here is the honest, unglamorous truth sitting underneath all of that noise. Most professional Egyptologists and archaeometallurgists remain confident that copper tools, combined with abrasive sand, enormous amounts of organized labor, and generations of accumulated craft knowledge, can account for what we see in the granite record, even the parts that look astonishing to modern eyes. Experimental archaeology, actual researchers physically attempting to replicate ancient techniques with period-accurate tools, has produced results that get remarkably close to the real artifacts, though rarely perfectly identical. That gap between close and identical is exactly where the unresolved mystery still lives, and exactly where new analytical tools, AI included, are being pointed right now. What most people are not seeing, because it does not fit neatly into a 2-minute hook, is that the real frontier of this mystery is not a single dramatic answer. It is a slow, ongoing narrowing of uncertainty, one measurement at a time, one scanned trench at a time. one statistical comparison at a time. That is less exciting to say out loud. It is also, if you actually care about the truth rather than the thumbnail, the far more remarkable story. So think about what is actually happening here, at a level most casual viewers never stop to consider. A civilization operating roughly 4,000 years ago, without iron tools, without wheels for most of their construction work, without draft animals suited to the task, without any concept of powered machinery, managed to extract, shape, transport, and in most cases, successfully erect single stone monuments weighing hundreds of tons with a level of geometric precision that continues to humble engineers using laser scanning technology today. And in the one case where they failed, the one obelisk that cracked and never left its quarry, they accidentally left behind the closest thing we have to a technical manual for how they attempted to do it. That failure is priceless. If they had succeeded, moved the obelisk, erected it somewhere along the Nile the way they did with its finished siblings, this entire trench, every tool mark, every ochre guideline, every scoop would have vanished, buried, weathered, or simply left irretrievably out of context. And here is where the story turns from historical curiosity into something with real stakes for how we understand human capability itself. Every time a piece of ancient engineering forces modern experts to admit uncertainty, it chips away at a quiet, comfortable assumption most people carry without realizing it, the assumption that technological progress is a straight line, always improving, always moving in one obvious direction from primitive toward advanced. The Aswan quarry does not fit that comfortable line neatly. It suggests something messier and more interesting, that ancient societies achieved specific pockets of extraordinary precision through means we do not yet fully understand, using a combination of patience, accumulated craft knowledge, passed down over generations, and problem-solving approaches that simply do not resemble the industrial mindset modern engineers default to. This is not a story about ancient people being secretly more advanced than us in some mystical sense. Read that again, because it matters. It is a story about a different kind of intelligence, one built on repetition, close observation, and generational trial and error, achieving results that our own industrial power tool-dependent mindset finds genuinely difficult to reverse engineer using nothing but modern intuition. That is a far more grounded and honestly more respectful way to understand what is sitting in that Aswan quarry than pretending it requires some hidden lost civilization or secret advanced technology to explain. Now bring the artificial intelligence angle back into focus, because this is where the future of the mystery actually points, and it is genuinely significant even without a dramatic thumbnail claim attached to it. Machine learning models are increasingly being trained not just to measure tool marks, but to run large-scale simulations, testing how different combinations of tool hardness, striking force, abrasive material, and labor time would statistically produce the exact wear patterns visible on the real stone. This is where the real breakthroughs in this field are quietly happening, not in a single headline moment, but in the accumulation of thousands of simulated trials that slowly narrow down which combination of ancient methods actually fits the physical evidence best. According to researchers working at the intersection of archaeology and computational analysis, this approach could, within the coming years, meaningfully settle long-running disputes not just at Aswan, but across dozens of other unresolved ancient engineering sites worldwide, from megalithic construction in the Andes to precision stonework in the eastern Mediterranean. The Aswan obelisk may end up being remembered as one of the first major test cases where this kind of large-scale, computational, evidence-driven approach to ancient technology genuinely reshaped academic consensus, rather than another sensational claim that faded into internet folklore within a year. But think about what that also means for how these stories get told to the public going forward. If the actual science moves slowly, carefully, one incremental study at a time, and the online content ecosystem rewards instant, dramatic, definitively solved narratives, there is a real and growing gap between what is actually being discovered and what people believe has been discovered. That gap is not harmless. It shapes how much trust the public places in real archaeological institutions when a properly cautious, hedge-filled academic paper eventually gets published and quietly contradicts a wildly viral video that promised the mystery was already closed months earlier. So, where does that leave the Aswan obelisk today, right now, in the middle of this ongoing story? It is still lying in the same quarry it has occupied for roughly 3,500 years, cracked, unfinished, patiently visited by tourists who mostly photograph the scoop marks without knowing they are looking at one of the longest-running open questions in archaeological science. The pounding theory still holds significant academic support. The undercut problem still has not been fully resolved to universal satisfaction. The cylindrical drill holes nearby still raise questions that mainstream explanations answer only partially. And artificial intelligence, not as a mystical oracle, but as an unusually patient, unusually precise research assistant, is now quietly being pointed at all of it, running comparisons no human researcher could complete alone in a single career. What happens next is genuinely uncertain. And that uncertainty is not a failure of the story, it is the honest center of it. Maybe within the next decade, large-scale computational modeling finally closes the gap between the pounding theory and the undercut problem, and Egyptologists reach something close to consensus for the first time in 100 years. Maybe the data instead reveals something unexpected, a technique nobody currently on the table has considered, forcing the field to rewrite its assumptions rather than simply confirm them. Or maybe, and this is the possibility almost nobody wants to sit with, the evidence remains permanently ambiguous, the physical record too weathered, too incomplete, too shaped by 35 centuries of wind, heat, and human disturbance to ever fully answer a question this old with the certainty modern science usually demands. Whatever happens, one thing is already certain. That cracked, unfinished, abandoned piece of granite lying in an Aswan quarry has outlasted the empire that carved it, outlasted every explanation offered for it over the past century, and is now outlasting the first wave of artificial intelligence tools pointed at solving it. It has survived every confident answer humans have thrown at it so far. The only real question left is whether it will survive the next one too, or whether somewhere in the coming years, a quiet, carefully worded academic paper, built on thousands of AI-assisted measurements nobody will turn into a viral thumbnail, finally gives that ancient trench the explanation it has been waiting 3,500 years to receive. There's one more layer to this story worth sitting with, because it explains why this particular mystery keeps resurfacing every few years, dressed up in a new headline, a new AI model, a new confident claim. It is not simply that the granite is hard to explain. It is that the explanation matters more than most people realize, because it touches something close to identity. How a civilization solved its hardest engineering problems tells us what kind of people they were, how they organized labor, how they thought about time, how they valued precision for its own sake, even when nobody was forcing them to achieve it. The Aswan Trench is not just a technical puzzle. It is a fingerprint left by thousands of individual workers, most of them anonymous, most of them never recorded in any surviving text, whose only remaining trace on the historical record is the exact curve of a scoop mark cut into stone. Every time a new tool, human or artificial, gets pointed at that fingerprint, it is not just asking how the stone was cut. It is quietly asking who these people actually were and how much we have underestimated them. That is also why the exaggerated versions of this story spread so easily online. A headline promising that AI finally solved a 4,000-year mystery taps into something deeper than curiosity about rocks. It taps into a hunger to finally understand the people who came before us, to close the distance between their world and ours, to prove that with enough computing power, nothing from the deep past can stay hidden for long. That hunger is not unreasonable. It is, in many ways, one of the more admirable instincts in human curiosity. The problem is not the hunger itself. The problem is when content creators feed that hunger a confident, finished answer that the actual evidence has not yet earned, because doing so quietly trains audiences to expect certainty from a field whose entire value lies in its disciplined uncertainty. So what should a careful viewer actually take away from a title like this one? Not a solved mystery. Not a triumphant final answer delivered by a machine while archaeologists stood by in shock. Something closer to the truth of how real discovery actually works. Slow, incremental, occasionally frustrating, built from thousands of unglamorous measurements rather than a single dramatic reveal. The granite at Aswan has not given up its secret yet. What has changed is the quality of the questions being asked of it and the precision of the tools now capable of listening for an answer. Somewhere between a copper chisel, swung 4,000 years ago, and a machine learning model comparing scan data today, there is a version of this story still being written, one data set at a time, one careful comparison at a time, with no guarantee of when, or even whether, it will ever fully close. And that, more than any thumbnail claiming the case is closed, is what should actually keep you watching this space. Not because the mystery has been solved, but because, for the first time in 100 years, we finally have tools patient enough, precise enough, and tireless enough to ask that ancient trench the right questions, whether it answers them, and what those answers might force us to rethink about everything we assume we already know about the people who built a civilization out of stone remains entirely, genuinely unresolved.